With the kind permission of everyone, this two-day seminar will be recorded. Good morning, everyone. I am Harita Pant, PhD scholar and the PMRA Fellow at the School of Engineering Sciences and Technology, University of Hyderabad, and the student coordinator for the startup activities at the University of Hyderabad Institution's Innovation Council. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad and the President of the University of Hyderabad IIC, Professor Arun Agrawal, Coordinator R&D at the University of Hyderabad, Head DST at the University of Hyderabad, and the Vice President of the UOHIIC, Professor G.S. Prasad, the Faculty Coordinator for Startup at the University of Hyderabad IIC, Professor Srikant, and all the other University of Hyderabad IIC members, the speakers, and the participants to the two-day seminar on early stage entrepreneurs, jointly organized by University of Hyderabad Institution's Innovation Council and DST Technology Enabling Center at the University of Hyderabad. On the first day of the seminar, that is today, students from different backgrounds and pursuing different degrees are going to present their thoughts and journey with respect to startups. Later today, our distinguished speaker, Dr. G. Venkatramana, Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at Nanospanning, will share his experiences about startups and entrepreneurship. It is a proud moment to announce that Dr. G. Venkatramana is an alumnus of University of Hyderabad. Tomorrow, we'll have Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, team leader of the Center for Technology Acquisition and Transfer at ARCI Hyderabad, as our eminent speaker. He will be presenting his ideas on startups, technology commercialization, and entrepreneurship. He will also be conducting a question and answer session after his talk. This seminar is exclusively arranged to benefit the students who either have an idea about a startup or a newbie. I hope you will find this seminar relatable to you. Now, I would like to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor and the President of UOHIIC, Professor Arun Agrawal, for his welcome note. Over to you, sir.
Sir, you're on mute, sir.
Now, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would like to welcome all of you and a very good morning to all of you. So on behalf of the University of Hyderabad, I am very happy to welcome Dr. G. Venkatramana, Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at Nanospan Incorporated. Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, Scientist F and Team Head, Center for Technology Acquisition and Transfer, ARCI, Hyderabad. Our young invited speakers sharing their experiences with the startup, and also warm welcome to all the participants, faculty, staff, students from University of Hyderabad and other educational institutions. I am very happy to note that University of Hyderabad Institution's Innovation Council and Technology Enabling Center, University of Hyderabad, is jointly organizing this two-day early stage entrepreneur seminar. The University of Hyderabad, a premier institution of postgraduate teaching and research in the country, was established by an Act of Parliament in 1974 as a central university wholly funded by University Grants Commission. And the university over last 47 years has attained a very unique place as a major center of academic excellence in higher education and research. In terms of public-funded multidisciplinary universities, University of Hyderabad is making a remarkable progress. I am happy to note the efforts of Mrs. Harita Pant, University of Hyderabad IIC Startup Students Coordinator, and Professor Dr. Engineer V.V.S.S. Srikant, Coordinator Startup UH IIC, for putting this excellent seminar together. and to Dr. G.S. Prasad, Vice President, UHIIC, Professor Salman A. Moise, Convener, UHIIC, and all our distinguished council members for steering this event. I once again wish all the best and hope that by the end of the seminar, the participants will be motivated and consider the startup space as freedom to pursue your own vision, as control and flexibility over your own time, as opportunity and satisfaction of creating jobs for others, and as a sense of pride and fulfillment in accomplishing things. So I wish this two-day seminar all the best, and I hope you all have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving your welcome note. Before we begin with the presentations, I would like to announce that you may be reserved the questions until the end of the day. Now, I would like to invite our first speaker, Ms. Sara Gio, with an exciting talk titled, Do I Know Anything About Startup? Sara.
Okay. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hyderabad.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Harita, for this opportunity and for having me here. When I was first approached regarding this workshop, I have to admit I was initially very confused because to answer the question, no, I did not know anything about startups. And I told them as such. But they thought that they wanted to make this presentation about my ignorance regarding the same. So here I am. To introduce myself, my name is Sara. I am currently studying my integrated master's in science, majoring in chemistry at the School of Chemistry, University of Hyderabad. I'm currently in my sixth sem, and as of now, my areas of interest include nuclear chemistry, analytical chemistry, nanoscience, and science communication. And I hope to pursue my future interests regarding the same. Apart from my academic pursuits, I like to dabble in a little extracurricular stuff once in a while. I am the student coordinator of the Junior Science Club, and I help to organize events as a part of the same. I also love to participate in extracurricular events within and without campus, and that includes debates and ideathons, quizzes, puzzles, arts and crafts, and all that. Apart from that, I've worked with Professor VVSS on a book chapter, and I've also in communication with another professor, Professor Alain Krief, and we are working on a dictionary of science. These are all learning experiences for me, and they help broaden my perspective to the world and to what I would like to do. So when you ask the question, do I have ideas? Yes, of course, I have ideas. And what kind of ideas? Well, usually they are with regard to my career and interests. With regard to my career, it usually forms around what I want to do with my life. So do I want to get a PhD? And if so, what topic do I want to go and research? And whom do I want to work under? Which institution do I want to work under? Or do I want to go in another route? Do I want to start an educational institution or something? And what do I want to do with regard to the same? And what I would have to do to get there to where I want to be with regard to my careers. And about my interests, it usually involves my passion projects or stuff which I would not associate with my career. So that involved my hobbies, writing, reading, arts and crafts. So if I would like to write a book, what would the book be on? What would be the title? What would be the plot? Or if I would like to read a book, why I would like to read it, what I would like to get out of it. Painting a picture, so what I would like to paint, what colors would I use. And all this are not very unique to me. Most of my peers have very similar ideas, and oftentimes we work together regarding the same. Now, when it comes to startups, I had heard of the word startup around, usually in passing from friends, within the news, websites, magazines, whatever. But I hadn't really given any serious thought to what it is or anything really until I was approached by Professor Srikant and Ms. Harita. And from that time till now, I Googled it. I learned from Wikipedia and other websites. And I look for online sources which would help give me an idea about what startups really are. And as of now, my understanding of a startup is as follows. So, a startup is a young company that was founded to build or develop a unique product or service. This was made to address any deficiencies in the existing market or create something new that changes the way things are done. So, the creator of a startup is usually referred to as an entrepreneur. It is usually a high risk venture and it will most likely fail. Very few actually succeed, and they require a huge cost initially as an investment. And due to many factors, we rarely see a unicorn startup. So, what is a unicorn startup? A unicorn startup is a privately held startup with a value over 1 billion US dollars. It is a statistical rarity, and the term unicorn startup was coined by Alien League, and it reflects the fact that it is so rare that it rarely ever happens. To talk of a few famous unicorn startups, some well known ones are SpaceX, which has a valuation of around 74 billion USD. And most gamers would probably have heard of Epic Games, which is also a startup with a valuation of over 28 USD. And I think most school going people would have heard of Byju's, which has a valuation of over 16.5 USDs. And so these are all very unicorn startups that are in the common parlance as household names, you could say. So, coming to the question, is this for me? Honestly, I am not sure because although I wasn't really considering it seriously initially, after learning more, I'm still not sure. Maybe it's because I have only a surface level understanding of what it is and how it works even now. And maybe after I learn more, my thoughts and ideas regarding the same would change. So I look forward to learning more about the prospects, what it ensures, what it takes, what a good startup is. And so I hope to contribute regarding the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara, for your excellent presentations. I think many of us can relate to this. My apologies, I forgot to introduce Professor Salman, the convener for UOHIIC. Sorry, sir.
Sara, are you there? We lost you.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, Sara.
Thank you, Harita.
Your voice not clear, Sara.
I think network issues at my end. I'll just see.
Now, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Mr. T. Sehachar Reddy from University of Pennsylvania. The title for his presentation is My Knowledge of Startups. Sehachar.
Hello everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Sehachar.
Hello everyone. Thank you for your next 15 minutes and letting me share my knowledge of startups. I am Sahachar and I am a master student at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm pursuing mechatronic and robotic systems. So, a quick flashback through my undergrad and the years later. I'm a mechanical engineer by training from Tezpur University. I pursued materials and manufacturing academically through some research projects, conference proceedings, and internships. I also dabbled into robotics and served as the secretary to our Tezpur University Robotics Society, TURS, as we call it. After graduation, I worked as a print production engineer at Telangana Publications Private Limited. Although industrial challenges are great, they started to become very monotonous through time, and I felt the urge to pursue research. Thanks to Professor Srikanth, I could work with him on a fascinating project uh, on metal oxide decorated graphene nanocomposites, which find their applications into energy storage, conversion, and water purification. This opened my eyes to a spectrum of possibilities across various domains of science and technology. So, the word startup, I think I heard it through in my second or third year of my undergrad. And mostly I was introduced to this word by the stories of Jeff Bezos. Like he started from selling books door to door to building an empire, Amazon as we know it. Elon Musk, a great disruptive serial entrepreneur, from PayPal to Tesla, SpaceX, and hopefully many more to come. Another entrepreneur that introduced me to this word startup word was Varun Agarwal. He has co-founded $2 million startups, one of which is Alma Mater, a student merchandise seller across many schools and universities all over the country. The special thing that I'd like to mention is his work called Anuanti. There's both a book and a parody song. It's called the Engineering Anthem, Anuanti. So Anuanti, he basically reflects our society as Anuanti. The society being the society being wishing for their future kin to be just engineers or doctors and takes a parodical strike at them. Uh, Apart from that, coming back to the startups, so the other influences and the introduces to the word startup were the contemporary TV web series, one of which is the TVF Pictures, which most of you have might have watched. It basically addresses the non-technical challenges that entrepreneurs face while building a startup. Things like perseverance, commitment, personal life balance issues. But there is this TV web series called Silicon Valley, which is by far the most comprehensive TV web series addressing the both technical and non-technical challenges that entrepreneurs face, and it also lets you go through the various stages of a startup while the startup itself being evolving. So with these influences and with my own experience with startups, I believe startup is a project to develop an idea into a scalable business model and execute. Although, since I was going to present this today, I had to go and search on Wiki what the internet has to say about startups. And it seems it says any new business intending to grow beyond the founder, simply put. But I feel to succeed as an entrepreneur or to succeed for the startup, one should always, this is an if and only if condition, and one should always extensively understand the market before diving into the business model. With surveys, pilot projects, more surveys. At every stage of a change that a startup goes through, market study has to be done. You would not want to make something which people do not need or people do not want. A chance that I took and ventured into the world of startups during my third year of BTech, I came along. I built a team of 5 along with me and started to work on a project called Vent Kona. So it was just a name. So we thought it might just represent vending corner as Vent Kona in a desi style. But the project the aim of the project was to mainly develop the modular prototype, which could essentially be primary component in a distributed network of automatic vending machines. The vending machines being smart, they could communicate with each other and with a central server. This enables the business owners to have a clear data, real-time data of the stock, and which would allow them to monitor both the stock and the trade. This gives the room to optimize the ways of distribution, refilling of the stock in real time. And we foresaw that an app like Uber, which lets you see where the nearby vending outlets are and what are the stock available in it, would really help the customers and to make orders in prior and do the trade in a touch-free manner. This was our main aim, was to cater to the Indian fast-moving consumer goods market, which was evaluated to be around $800 billion at that time, and it is still going close to 1 trillion. That is pride that we can take as Indians. And we were, with the long run vision was to enter into groceries. But so, yeah, how it all began and how did we finance as students. So, as I said, I served as the secretary to TURS, our robotic society, and I had the opportunity to work with few very amazing people during that time, and I could gauge the competence of the members and approach to them with the ideas that we had. So we used to do many brainstorming and many brainstorming sessions, and we used to come up with many ideas at the time for our projects that we could do during the societal years. And during the time, we had this idea, and we had a notion that Indian manufacturing industry was not growing very fast and it was lagging behind. And at the same time, we also observed that vending machines, India was not in the business of vending machines, not at the top. We do make some vending machines, but we are definitely not at the top. It has various factors to it, but yeah. So we decided to tackle that. We decided to produce cheapest smart vending machines, and we were successful enough that we could produce a smart vending machine at the 50% of cost that the current Indian market had to offer. Yeah, coming back to building a team, I feel like we should definitely identify potential collaborators, which I did, and fortunately, were my robotic society's board members, and fortunately, I could convince them to believe in the idea. And since they believed along with me, we were willing to invest like 1,000 rupees a month, which was 1/3 of our expenses monthly. And yeah, that was the sacrifice that we made during that time. And yeah, so after 6 months of design thinking process and 1 year of prototyping, we had a successful prototype. But then we were being pulled into this dilemma that we should get it patented. But how do you get it patented? Why do you get it patented? It's not a novel thing. You already have vending machines all over the world, and just being a smart vending machine doesn't make it any novel. So ideas can be commercially viable, but necessarily not get copyrights or patents for themselves. So I just wanted to make this point because many of the students think ideas have to be novel in order to pursue them as a startup. Not necessarily. Yeah, as Sara earlier mentioned, startups have a great statistical risk of failure. The success rate is very small, And so were we in the failure domain. So we, after a successful uh, development of a prototype, this is a crude prototype, definitely, but it was very much functional and served the purpose and had a very great stock capacity. So we only focused on product development for 1.5 years. This was in addition to our research BTech thesis that we were doing. This was a separate thing. So we only focused on product development. We graduated and we didn't know what to do then with this product that we had because we did not lay a proper business plan for it to take action upon. And we realized our shortcomings in proper marketing, surveying, understanding the needs, evolving the idea, making a business strategy. There was no immediate funding, and we all had our own responsibilities and make our careers, individual interests. So, yeah, when we talking about funding, the usual problem is it's not easy for the investors to see that uh, there is not a big problem solved here, but essentially there is an increase in convenience with these because these smart vending machines being deployed in residential complexes or office complexes, you reduce the time and both the cut down on the delivery charges. There is online delivery market. There is retail shops that you could go to. So when you go, you invest some time, and when you make online orders, you opt to pay for the online deliveries. So this is a compromise or a subtle niche that vending machines fit into, but it won't be much evident when we pitch it. So that was a great problem for us. But on retrospection now, I feel such free trade during this COVID pandemic would have been a great idea. If only we would have persisted through our efforts and stayed a bit longer in the game. I think it would have given us a much better chance to succeed. Let's talk about the idea's potential itself. Because there are competitors now in this field, I can say for sure that this particular idea has a great potential to it. Dalchini is a great startup, mostly conquering the northern India, where the suite of products is mainly the home cooked meals for office goers provided in the vending machines. These vending machines are deployed everywhere across big cities. Now, they do everything as we discussed earlier. They enabled their vending machines with IoT, they monitor their stocks and trades, they optimize their distribution. Everything is great. And this particular startup started with some around 60 outlets in one particular city and now has grown to 10 cities. Uh, this startup was launched in 2018. That is when I was graduated as well. And now Big Basket, as we all know, is a very big startup. And it in 2019, it laid a path to invest $100 millions to scale its BB instant vending outlets from 200 in Bangalore to 2,000 across multiple cities that it operates in. So I can definitely say this India is definitely going into this digital phase where vending machines can find themselves to be very successful. Yeah. So what do you do with your ideas? I say that you take action, act upon your even the smallest of ideas you believe in. If you believe, please do act. You need not make it a startup. It can just be a project that could turn into a startup eventually. Do not really bother if it succeeds or if it succeeds as a startup or a business. The experience that you gain might be really helpful for your next big idea to act upon. Next, talk your idea. Talk your idea to as many people as you can. Find potential collaborators. If you do not talk, how will you collaborate? If you do not talk, how will you find investors? How would you find funding? Uh, Many people think there's a risk of selling your idea or people copying your idea. Ideas are easy. Implementation is really difficult. Many might have the same idea as you do, but implementation is not the same, and not everyone has the guts to implement it. So please do act. Please do talk your idea to as many people as you can. Get the feedback. Evolve your idea. Go to boot camps and startup challenges, ideathons. There is a lot of room for growth and a lot of feedback that you get from the professionals and the people who have long survived the domain of startups or entrepreneurship. It would be a really great experience, and it gives you proper changes that you can accept and evolve your idea at the same time. Please do definitely accept changes. You need not think that you should stick with the original idea, because you learn through the process, you learn through the journey of an entrepreneur, and accepting the changes does evolve your idea. Next, at every change, starting from the idea itself, please do validate the market needs. Please understand if the market needs the idea, how far the market is uh, before creating before having the need for your idea. So please do understand if your idea satisfies or creates a demand or solves a problem. Thank you, and all the best through your journey as an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Sacha. That was quite a journey. Our next speaker is Mr. K. Lakshmi Das from University of Hyderabad. He will be sharing his innovation experiences with the presentation entitled "My Experiences with Innovation and Startups." Over to you, Lakshmi Das.
Good morning, everybody. I'm K. Lakshmi Das. I'm doing my master's in materials engineering in SEST University of Hyderabad. So these are my experiences with innovation and startups. Over the years, in my bachelor's degree and through my master's degree, I have a lot of experiences with innovations and the process of startups and I had a lot of touch with the entrepreneurship development system. So I started my journey of innovation when I was doing my bachelor's degree at Sara University. I've had a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends who are really passionate about innovations and starting up new ideas, mostly in the technical sense, not as an idea of a startup, just to produce a technical product that they are really strong with in the academic sense. So that's how it started. No one had any idea of creating a startup with those. So that was my first step. So my experience with innovations. So I started an aero design club at Sastra University on from 2015 to 2018. It was active under my leadership. So we have created two products within that period. The first one being the product design and development of the ice flask, which was done in 2016, and later we have forwarded to we went to a bigger competition, which was the design and development of micro aerial vehicle for SAE India, a Society of Automotive Engineering Society, and the Indian Southern Section Division conducted an Aero Design Challenge in 2017. We have participated in that competition. So we have developed UAV for that. And later at University of Hyderabad, uh, through my interest and I have approached Srikanth sir for that, and we have from then we have been an active part of the student body of the Institute Innovation Cell, and I am a student member in it. We have designed a delivery drone for medical supplies for inaccessible areas. This also came under the competition of AICT National Innovation Contest and Smart India Hackathon 2020. So these are my experiences with innovations. Of course, I have other innovations which have not made into light or which are not successful. So I'm trying to concentrate on the successful and finished products here. So the first one is the ice flask. So it was developed as a part of a coursework from the product design and development program. In our fifth semester of my aerospace engineering, we had a coursework for product design and development. It is completely a mechanical engineering course curriculum. So we had to construct a product from the scratch as a company. We have to think ourselves as a company, and we have to develop a new product that that has to go through the requirements of the coursework, and we have to play into a scenario where we are developing and we are presenting our product to the company so that it gets funded to the next stage. So it contains the basic structure of the innovation, such as the problem identification, concept generation, planning and design, and finally the development and testing. It is supposed to contain that. So we did all of that as a team. So we have multiple teams divided into this in the same college, in the same school of mechanical engineering. So we developed this ice flask. No one is supposed to say anything about this. So I mean, there was no input for us regarding this product. So everything comes from the scratch, even the idea. So this idea came to me when our team was discussing how to develop a product. So starting with the problem identification. So we were having tough time cooking Maggie in the university. So we thought something, a heating element which is portable would be easy. And with that has the idea was born of a flask, a heating material flask. So then we changed or manipulated the idea into a product which can be used by a company. So we made up a company called the flask, and this company has products such as winter wear and traction boots and everything necessary for mountaineers and cold climbing weather. Our first customers were mountaineers and people living in high altitudes which need these kind of gear. And the second one is military, for example, Indian military living in Sichuan or uh, other militaries like that. So we developed this flask with a pretty reusable material and biodegradable material. It has a USB Type B heating element underneath with a solar recharging pack, and it has everything to shield the heat. Better insulating materials were used for the design. So this whole product has an industrial approach for a product design and development. It will come in the it is far fetched from the startup initial idea. So this was the first experience I had with any kind of innovation or a startup or a product. So as it was done as a curriculum course program. So the next one was the Aero Design Challenge in 2017. A microclass aerial vehicle for heavy lifting purpose was supposed to be designed for the competition, which was an all India competition that was done in 2017. So we have participated in the microclass. So it is supposed to lift payload. The competition during the flight testing, that we are given a certain payload, and we have to lift a certain payload. Like we can, it's like a weightlifting competition. We can increase the payload for every trail. We have 3 trails. So the team which lifts the maximum weight for that given weight of the airplane, there is a ratio. So maximum weight by the weight of the airplane will give you the payload capacity, and the team with maximum payload capacity wins the competition. So with that, we have started our journey with it. So we designed it exclusively in CATIA, and we used ANSYS Workbench and Fluent for the drag analysis and other simulations. It was manufactured using novel materials like carbon fiber wing reinforcements. We used carbon fiber struts and for the main spine of the airplane, and hard styrofoam and different lightweight polymers that have never been used in UAV manufacturing. So we have used other materials which might be useful in this. For example, the lightweight foam that we find in uh, backpacks or any other shoes or any kind of those materials, very light and very good at taking impact. We use those kind of materials that has never been used in UAV production. And innovation starts from choosing the correct aerofoil to design the manufacture. So it starts from the innovation starts from choosing an airfoil that is the part of the wing. So we started there. We have chosen many airfoil profiles for the exact functionality of the airplane. So we take the weight of the airplane and the weight it's supposed to lift into account, and what we do is we put it into a design loop. So because design is an iterative process, different parameters are chosen and calculations are done for final values such as weight of the cargo and flight time of the competition. So these are put into feedback loops and designed for the best results as per the given inputs. So we can see the feedback loops now. So the first part of this, we had maintained a rough goal. We have maintained a rough loop. So the design goals are given into the requirements and constraints, and later the conceptual design and initial sizing design estimate comes. So that then we do the preliminary designing. So everything goes from the rough modeling. We do a rough fabrication and we do a flight test of a stick figure. We make a stick figure and we put just paper on the plane and just see uh, how the flight characteristics are for the skeleton model, and then we see the aerodynamics and stability of that, where the CG is lying and where the center of pressure and center of gravity and other kind of important aerodynamic points are lying. And later we do the detailed design of that. We do out the shelling, we do out the body of that, and later the prototype and construction comes. And then we do the internal testing. We did exclusively internal testing of just the part of a wing, and then the design optimizations are done. As I told you, the design is an iterative loop. Each step keeps coming back. If it's not good, we trace back to the steps and see what goes wrong, and then we come back. I think this is also a really important part of innovation. Innovation is not always being creative, but being creative with the process of design. So the design optimization done, then later flight test, and everything. And if everything is good, then we go to flight construction, and this is our final output. And then on the right side, we see this is a technical weight assessment loop. We just input the weights, and it just automatically calculates the parameters, and if it sees if the conditions are met, and it gives the final design solution. So these loops go on and on around in the computer software, and they give us the maximum limits of the parameters that we can use. For example, if it has to lift a kg of payload, or how much should the wing weigh, how much should the tail weigh, how much should the whole motor weigh. So everything is done, and the design solution gives us the average values or average range of where your plane can be. So yeah, and this was the plane that we have created in CATIA, and we have uploaded to ANSYS. And this is how it looks like. It looks very rough because we have no idea what we're doing back then, and this is what we came up with in the beginning. So then we put it up to the ANSYS Workbench and Fluent. We have done simulation, we have meshed it, and we have done drag calculations for the. This is supposed to be one of the criteria for the inspection. So we had to do it, even though we had no idea what that was back then. We have learned a lot along this process. And after that, and in that, we have that Aero Design Challenge. We have competed all India level, and successfully we got the all India second place in that, our team. So that was good. And at University of Hyderabad, in the first year itself, we have incorporated ourselves into the Institute Innovation Cell, thanks to Srikanth sir, who has motivated us into getting into a student member into the startup committee. And this we have created this particular challenge. We had met with the challenge of the innovation challenge and the hackathon. So we had to develop something which is versatile. We had to do a drone which is multi-purpose. So there is a huge market gap for emergency delivery drones with capabilities like heavy lifting, quick interception, surveillance, cold chain logistics, and strategic aerial support in crisis situations. The designed drone was capable of doing all the aforementioned tasks. So as you can see, there are a lot of uses for medical use drone, heavy lifting, high performance drones. They can do transport, search and rescue, medical care, even reconnaissance in places like the border or any enemy occupied areas like that. So we have created this model of the drone. So the emergency medical supply drone was the initial idea for that. That's what it was supposed to be, and a combination of heavy lifting and racing drone technology was used, because there are many heavy lifting drones such as aerial drones that can lift a lot of weight, but they're really slow. And there are also racing drones that are really quick, but they can fit. They're very small. So we tried to do is we tried to get a crossover between the two technologies, thinking by doing first I have designed the on the left you can see the skeletal framework that I designed in Fusion 360 Autodesk. So in this we have input the parameters, and same as before there's a design loop which calculates all the parameters and all the weight you have to lift with this drone and the speed that is supposed to go and the angle of attack and all the drag analysis parts. So we have designed a drone with, it's basically a racing drone but with really good materials, and it is stretched out to be to bear all the forces from the heavy lifting. So this is what has been done. We have manipulated the parameters for that. So we have successfully created a drone, and this on the right it is the finished model. um, so these are the inferences I've got from the experience with all the innovation. So the first project, the ice flask, was an industry oriented product specific innovation. So it doesn't have the potential to be a startup on its own, but it is among it can be one as the one among the wide range of functional specific startup products. It's like a, for example, we have a really big company, as I told you. So in that company, this ice flask can be a really good product. It can be a really good product that can boost the sales and value of the company. So but it cannot be a startup on its own because it lacks the potential to be unique in that stance. So the second one is the micro aerial vehicle. It has great market potential to be a foundation technology for the delivery drone system, but it lacks product exclusivity. But it makes up for it in the technological aspect, because there are many other micro aerial vehicles that are good at delivering stuff. But there are some technological advancements, as I told you before, which puts it apart. But the third project, the emergency delivery drone, uh, it is a perfect idea for a startup, as it has all the required initial prerequisites except for the funding phase. So this is, in my idea, this is a perfect idea for a startup. And the medical delivery drone is similar to a competitive startup environment with equal opportunity, because this is a it was a competition, so many people are working on that. So it is equal for anybody can be the best, anybody can be the best and make a startup out of it. So it is like an even playing ground, so anyone can come with the challenge. So many teams competing with a similar objective in mind, opportunity to monopolize the market, that is there. Example like Swiggy, Zomato and Dunzo, which deliver goods from a third party to the other. And the previous project, the UAV, is similar to this but with only a single goal. It is only goal oriented, just lifts heavy weight. But the latter, the drone, has multi-purpose, it's versatile, and it has everything else to do in its goal. So whereas the first project, the PDD, the project design and development course project, so it comes far later in the timeline of a startup. If you start up, it comes later in the later stages than in the rather than the initial stages or the foundation stages. We cannot build a startup around it. So where the company is well established and needs to innovate for a better product lineup. So it has done what it is supposed to do, and it is good in the it has established and it's good with the people. But there is something else need to be done to stay in the game. So then these products like these, the ice flask will pique the interest of the customers and keep them in the loop and keep them in the game. And the other thing is, our team had an early experience with entrepreneurship development cell, ED cell at Sastra University, but we were reluctant to pitch any ideas to them due to the inexperience and lack of trust in the cell, because many of our ideas were not patented yet, and we don't know what patenting was back in 2016. So, and those ideas could be easily manipulated or easily stolen, because it has happened in throughout history and even in our university itself. So they can be manipulated. If someone comes with an idea of creating a fitness product, fitness supplement chain, they can just change it into started a weight loss chain, weight loss supplement, and it just translates into that. In this, ideas can be stolen, ideas can be manipulated. In that case, in the very early beginning, and in the position where you cannot do anything, so you should be careful with that. So we were reluctant until then. And a famous quote from Mike Tyson, I used to remind that, and he once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." So everyone has a startup plan until they hit the first really big obstacle. Everyone has a plan until then, but then when they hit that roadblock, when they hit that hurdle, everything goes out of the window and they're in defensive state. So everyone needs to be really, if anyone is supposed to start, anyone thinks of starting a startup, don't do it because everyone else is doing it. Do it because you really want to do it. It's all about how bad you want it and how far you're willing to go for it. And the lack of conviction is one of the main reasons for the failure of a startup, and this is in my experience. And the most important thing for the startup, it's surprisingly not the idea. The single most important thing that dictates the success of any aforementioned projects is not necessarily the idea, or the business plan, or even the team. It's just the timing of the execution. So these are the top 5 factors. These are structured by Bill Gross, one of really good CEO of Idea Lab. He has started many startups, and timing is essentially is very important when compared, even more than team or idea or business model or the funding. Because, for example, just take my third product itself, the delivery UAV drone. That has a really good potential, but if I delay that, if I procrastinate, if I do it 3 years, 4 years later, what if someone else comes with that idea? The parallel thinking is not a myth, it is there. So if anyone else comes with a really good idea of a delivery drone, and if they establish themselves in the market, it's really hard to beat competition. So I think the timing should be perfect. And with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi Das, for your excellent and thought-provoking presentation on your experiences with respect to startups. We are getting a lot of questions regarding feedback on YouTube, the feedback form. You have to fill that form at the end of this session, not right now, because it will be related to the talks you will be hearing today. Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mr. Varun Perla from University of Pennsylvania. He will be sharing his thoughts on patterns in serial entrepreneurship. Over to you, Varun.
Yeah, thank you. One sec. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, Varun, it is fine.
Yeah, awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity, IIC and the University of Hyderabad, for inviting me and to give my thoughts on my topic, patterns in serial entrepreneurship. So I think this seminar itself is happening in a very interesting time, because we are going through a pandemic, extreme challenging times, and entrepreneurs are the need of the hour because we have a lot of problems to solve. So when I was first given the question, what exactly you want to talk about, I was very confused, because entrepreneurship is like very wide topic, and I thought of like, why not talk about journeys of serial entrepreneurs, and also share the advice what I've received in my journey. So summarizing it, like why exactly I want to talk about, I believe, and in my opinion, serial entrepreneurs are the greatest asset of a nation, and not just of a nation, of the humanity itself, because of two reasons. Our first thing is they create jobs, and the second thing is they solve challenging problems. So before we dive in, just a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Varun. I'm a recent master's grad at the University of Pennsylvania. I started my journey way back in 2016 when I graduated from BITS Pilani. Just before graduating, I worked at Swiggy back in 2015, where we were just 100 people. That today Swiggy has some 6,000, 7,000 people, but in 2015 we were growing super like 400% month on month. That was the growth which I felt. So there I realized that I have to become good at building great products. So I joined Cisco as an associate product manager before moving on to Triple ID Hyderabad, where I did applied AI research under Professor C.V. Jawahar. At Triple ID Hyderabad, I really fell in love building systems. So that's why I came to Penn in 2019 to do my master's in systems engineering and minor in entrepreneurship. I graduated this May, and I'm currently with Charles Schwab, which is the world's biggest asset manager. And I'm doing my part, helping them build better financial systems for all of us. So that is pretty much about me, and let's get started. So before, I think most of us here sitting, I either want to do for two reasons. I think at least most of us, if not everyone. The first thing is I think that we want to do a startup, or either we want to work for a startup. These are the two main reasons, I suppose. So with that, I just want to share the agenda and what I'll be talking about. First thing is, we'll just briefly for 30 seconds, we'll describe what a serial entrepreneurship is, or what serial entrepreneurs are, and then discuss some stories, and also then I'll share the advice that I've received in my journey, and finally we'll wrap it up with few questions through comments, or and you can contact me later with my contact info. So this is a no-brainer slide, because you must be familiar with all of the names here. First is Sachin Bansal, then Elon, Richard, Kunal. So they started. So serial entrepreneurs is nothing but a person who starts more than one company in their lifespan. So they start one thing, even if they're half done, or completed it or sold it to, and they start an immediate company after that. So that's why they are very, very vital to the nation or the humanity itself, because they create jobs and solve problems. So these people, as you know, they're successful, famous, powerful, wealthy, but the most interesting question is, like, how do they do it? So before we actually ask an answer, before I actually answer this question on how they do it, I think diving deeper and reading and because if you can go to the online and just search these names, you can get a lot of stories and a lot of the biographies of all these great entrepreneurs. But today I want to share two stories with you, two fictional stories, but they are real life stories. I've just kept the identity confidential, but they are real life stories, and I want to share them with you because there is so much content that is available on the internet that you can just watch. But these are two real life stories which have not been documented, but I really learned a lot from these two stories, and I want to share them with you today. These are the two fictional characters. First story is of Rani, and second story is of Raja. So let's discuss these two amazing stories. So story one is Rani is a recent grad from University of Hyderabad. She graduated in 2018, works at a startup as a software developer, age 24, and she founded a startup called whereismykidsbuzz.com. And the second story is of Raja, who is also a University of Hyderabad alumnus, but graduated way back in 2000, who's currently a director at Microsoft AI team, age 45, and he recently founded a scan for my packageleaks.ai. So these are the two personas that we'll be discussing. These are confidential identities, but these are real life stories I want to share with you. So first, let's get into Rani's story. So Rani had a sister who had a small son who goes to school every day. He's 10 years old. So every day at 5 p.m., Rani's sister used to go to the bus stop and pick up her son and come back and walk him back to the house. So one day what happened was there was super traffic jam and the bus did not arrive on time. So Rani's sister had to wait for more than 2 hours at the bus stop waiting for his son to arrive. She made multiple calls to the school, and the school has to contact the driver to know the state of the bus. And this is all a very chaotic process. After a tiring day, she comes home and discusses the same with Rani, who is her sister. Then Rani immediately says that, okay, there is a clear need for parents who have younger kids and wants to pick up from the bus stops, and they want to track the location of the bus. So she created a solution. She created a solution of bus tracking platform. She sold it to 50 schools pan India, and after 2 years of starting a startup, she sold this company for 5 crores to a big company. So let's discuss that story. So this happened in January 2018. In 2018, her sister came and discussed the story. She immediately felt the need. Okay, there might be a problem, and we can solve this. So in just 1 month, she just created a website. She created a website, and okay, there is this solution that I'm going to offer, and that enables parents to track the bus location whenever the bus starts from the schools and reaches the location. She reached out to all her network people and got few appointments from the principals and head of school administration departments. This happened in just 1 month, and in March she demoed. Nothing is the actual product is not ready, but she went to the schools and said that the product is going to look like this and it is going to perform these particular jobs. So she used her network and she demoed the solutions. Not everyone said yes, but there were 2 schools which said yes. If you are able to make this platform, we are ready to buy it, or at least we are ready to run a pilot on it. And then in April, she started working on the solution in March, and then by August, the product was ready. And if you actually look at this journey, she started in January, and by April, she was clear what she was working on. Because if the school closes in May, and nobody is in the school, so that is the perfect time for her to build the product. So she paid the drivers, she paid the school bus drivers, and just tested her product. Then in 2018 August, she onboarded the first school, got her first set of 400 customers. She was charging 50 rupees per parent to track the bus location for 1 year. So as soon as she got the first set of 400 to 500 customers, she did not immediately try expanding to other schools as well. She took time, talked to most of the 400 customers, saying that, okay, is this the feature that you require? Is this solving your problem? Then the users came and said, okay, what if I need a notification when my bus is like 5 minutes away from my home location? So a lot of customer interactions happened. That is from the customer's side of view. And on the other side, how exactly this business runs. What if the system on the bus just stops running? What are the logistics issues that are involved? And she, in this 4 months itself, she designed a business model. Is it good to charge 50 rupees or 60 rupees, 70 rupees? So after all these things are done, and she expanded to all the big schools in the city, Hyderabad city, and then she hit a bottleneck. Okay, there are so many schools in Hyderabad, but only few of them said yes. And of the few of them said yes, all of them are onboarded. Now she has just reached a bottleneck. To avoid this or to circumvent this, she collaborated. This was the creative part. She collaborated with a distribution agency which got her contacts from all across India. She then flew to different places and gave presentations. And in 2019, right from 2018 January to 2019 August, just in 1.5 years, she was able to launch this service in almost 50 schools pan India, built a team of 10 people to manage the entire system. And in 2020 January, she sold this startup. So why I'm telling this story to you guys, I think there are a couple of 5 important lessons that we can learn from Rani. First thing is daily observations. So when Rani's sister came and said that, okay, I'm facing this problem and it is a very tiring problem, she she immediately was very, very observant, and she clearly found what the problem was, what is the need, what was the customer's need. And she did not immediately start working on an app, or she did not try immediately building an app. First, she sourced different appointments from different principals and went there with a presentation, with a demo website. What if a solution exists like this? Would you be ready to buy for it or pay for it? Then few schools said yes. Only after saying yes and validating the problem and validating the need for the product, she started building it, and she started selling it from the day one. Without the product ready, she started selling it from the day one. As previous speakers has said, like, execution is almost like very, very important. So many of us will have ideas, but most of the startup fails because of lack of execution. When Rani hit a bottleneck that, okay, 3 schools are done in Hyderabad city, I cannot expand anymore, she did not stop there. And she had no contacts in other big cities across India, but she reached out to a distribution agency where she can fetch contacts or just connect Rani to different school heads. So that was the creative part. So execution is important, but creative execution is almost of paramount importance if you want to just be the number one and stay out of the competition. And finally, having a comprehensive plan. If you look at her journey, she started in January 2018, and she planned each and every milestone such that she would be having the pilot ready by May, because that May to August period, she can just have a lot of trial runs and get the product ready. So a very detailed and a comprehensive plan is also very important if you want to play the startup game. So that is pretty much about Rani's, and let's do Raja's story now. Raja is, as I said, like, he's also from University of Hyderabad, and he's currently an AI team. So one day he was eating something which is a packaged good. This is a little complex story, but I'll try to compress it. So for example, if we are eating Lay's chips or Parle-G biscuits or something, what if we find a small torn piece of paper or a small opening? These are inspected. So in a very big production line where they're manufacturing thousands and thousands of packets like this, inspection system is of paramount importance because that reflects the brand of the system. So if the package is broken, that is the consumer court in India or in the US is very, very strong. So for every 100 rupees, all these companies pay 3 rupees out of 100 rupees goes into just the inspection. So Raja found this, that okay, inspection system in the market is not properly done and is very, very expensive. And the curves or the leakages from these systems are in such a way that the normal X-ray would not be able to solve the issue at all. So he went on to create a package solution and sold the app to big companies. And today the company is valued around $100 million. Let's get little deeper into it. So when a Parle-G biscuit or when a liquid food item is just going on the conveyor belt on a production line, a X-ray system scans the entire package and makes sure that there is no leak in the seal of the package. So if there is a leak, then that would just affect the brand, and also they would be heavily fined by the food and by the food authority or the ISI or whatever different authorities which govern the systems and which make sure that production line is properly and the end consumer is not harmed. So each and every company pays about 3 rupees for every 100 rupees they manufacture. So that's a very expensive process. Raja came up with a solution that would just learn each kind of leak. Something like every X-ray every X-ray cannot properly understand what a leak looks like. So Raja designed an AI system that would just self-learn different kinds of leakages and make sure that no leakage product is shipped with much more accuracy than the X-ray system. So if you actually look at the timeline, he the same timeline what such as Rani's. This also started in January 2018. When he saw the problem, he did not just go and start and implement it, because he's a very senior, experienced professional. He has done a very deep market study, then did a proper competitor analysis, has done a total market size estimation, and also went and spoke to different industrialists and know their problems and what are their budget and how much they're willing to spend on it. So immediately after that, because he's a very experienced professional, he built a team of 3, including himself: one hardware engineer, one machine learning engineer, and who can also code. So because he's very experienced and also accomplished guy, he raised 1 million for just the seed product, just to build the initial product. And then he built the pilot, and he was able to run the pilot just in just 8 months. This is not a software company, but this is a hardware company. So obviously the entire time is a little bit more when compared to a software company. So it actually took 8 months, but he was able to install the inspection system in place just in 8 months, which is like very, very fascinating. Similarly, he just like Rani, he talked to a lot of customers, iterated, learned the entire logistics. And in March 2018, just after 1.5 years of this, he raised almost $10 million and hired 10 new employees, and signed one factory for full complete outlet. He signed 2 more big customers, and now the company is worth 100 million. So why I told these 2 stories? Before we get into that, let's also see a few lessons from Raja. First thing is the domain experience. He would not be able to do this, and he would have not got the thought of applying AI to this new kind of a problem if he was not the director of AI at Microsoft. So domain experience is like very, very important. Just having the problem in your mind and just working on it. So suppose I am an engineer. I cannot go and build a newspaper just like that. So I need the domain experience for any one of us to be super, super successful in that particular domain. Second thing is trusted network. He was able to raise $1 million with no product ready, and also he was able to hire 2 awesome superstar engineers just with a call. So that trusted network is very, very important, and that you can only build with collaborative work over the period of years. So building trusted network is very important. And similar of Rani, he is also a keen observer. Just with a lace packet or just a tone thing, with his curious mind, he was able to observe his daily activities and actually come out with the solutions which he can solve in the overall big picture. And he had a very solid plan. Initially, he hired 3 people, then 10 people, and in the meantime, he also know how much money he has to raise for it to execute. And he was not going after every other industry where inspection is important. He clearly picked the food industry because that is where there are heavy fines and companies are ready to pay for a very great solutions which will improve the accuracy of the entire inspection system, like, astronomically. So he has a very focused vision. So these are a few lessons. So how do I connect these 2 stories to the entire serial entrepreneurship part? So I just want to ask one question. So what if Raja and Rani is the same person? That means in 2000, way back, whenever that is, like, the same person started a company and then sold the same thing to 5 crores, then joined Microsoft, worked for like 10 years, and now the same person found a new opportunity again, and then he or she designed a new solution to solve this problem. So these kinds of people are called, like, it's a no-brainer. And these kinds of people are very important for the nation and for the humanity as well. And we should all work and strive, not just the governments, or we all as citizens should work very hard to build systems for such serial entrepreneurships to flourish when they're trying to solve a problem. So that is pretty much about the stories. And before we wrap it up, I just want to pass on the advice that I've got from great people in my journey. So when we generally start up, or we are very much convinced of the solution that we almost just fall in love with themselves, but we never try to assess what we are going after. So the first thing that you have to do is assess the market size, like how big is the market that you're going after. Something like, everybody wants water. So if you can do something with water, that's a very, very big market. Capturing even like 2%, 3% of it will just, you will hit $1 billion company. So assessing the market size is very, very important, and that is a very strong attribute of a winning company. The second thing is, it's all about people, everything. If people are not willing to work for you, or cannot understand your vision or what you're trying to solve, I think you can, because it's not a one person's game. It takes a village to accomplish something. The third thing is, a, a very focused mission. Like in Raja's case, he did not just go on every inspection system and try selling it to them. He picked one industry, a very focused food industry, and tried to sell it to them and tailor the entire solution for them. A simple focused mission and a very strong culture company is important. And as you know, Lakshmi Das has said, like most of the entrepreneurs just give up in between when they face hurdles, because you need enormous amount of painstaking ability, or enormous amount of passion for you to continue in that very hard journey. So strong and passionate entrepreneurs are important. Not everyone can succeed. And customer focus and customer discovery are most important, because if the Rani was selling the same platform to teenagers, or kids with teenagers, it wouldn't have flight. So she has to pick the right segment of audience, where the mother or the parent has to go to the bus stop and pick up the kid. So she has to properly identify the set of market, or the set of customers that she has to go after. So customer discovery and customer segment is very important. And what is the biggest lesson from the pandemic? I think being agile and trying to adapt and very fastly adapt to to the new solutions and the new situations is very, very important. And embracing the chaos with proper decision making. If you have to make a decision in a appropriate amount of time, and be very, very convict and go in with a lot of conviction, I think that is very important. And building meritocratic organizations. And if you think about startups, I think most of us, or most of the people who come up with ideas, they think a lot and stay in that loop for a very long time. If you were to divide two tasks, that is thinking and executing, you have to execute 3 times or 4 times more than thinking. So that is, if you have 1 hour, execute for 45 minutes and think for 15 minutes. Even that is not fine. Like 5 minutes of thinking and 55 minutes of execution would just definitely keep you off the edge and keep your startup afloat. And most importantly, I think trust is the most important currency of life. It's not the money. Once you have trust, and when many organizations and many systems around you believe in you and believe in your competencies, that somebody, if we put or invest in someone, they will accomplish the task, then that is the most respect, or that is the biggest asset that you can gain in this life. So there might be a lot of young grads who might be graduating soon. So the advice that I've received from Ted Schilling, who is a Kleiner Perkins venture capitalist, is, I think taking risk and taking chances is very important. And you should definitely get a mentor whom you admire, and whom you can listen to, instead of just either it be your parents, or it can be your alum, or it can be anyone. You should try to get a mentor and try to discuss your plan of action with them. I think values and relationships are very, very important, because at least in the pandemic times, I think it is proven of paramount importance, because we could not have come out of it. We are still coming out of it, but I think values and relationships and helping each other is of most important, at least in difficult times. This is, I think I've already said that if you were to take one thing out of this, it is execution is almost super important, and executing with a plan is even more important. So if I were to summarize the career advice that I've received and that I want to say to you also, is find something you love. I think but more importantly, you have to love the people that you're working for. Either it be your manager, your team, or your company, or it can be anyone else in that work organization. And just don't look at look at compensation, at least in the beginning of your career, but look for opportunities to learn and grow. And like Raja, who had built a 20-year strong experience in the artificial intelligence field, just build very strong foundational experiences. And I think here are the few things to follow. Read news, ycombinator.com, which is like hacker news every day. And also Sequoia has Surge Ahead events organized every Monday. And also read Andreessen Horowitz's blog every Friday release. And if you want to develop network like Raja has, you have to work at a startup, and these are the good portals to apply for jobs. One thing is work at a startup, and the second thing is Angel Co. It is advised as soon as you graduate or you're still in college, you have to develop a very good profile in this and start applying here. That is pretty much from me. Any questions in the comments would be taken. You can reach out me at Varun Perla, which is my first name, last name at outlook.com, or you can just book a slot on Calendly for 15 minutes. I'm happy to chat about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity, University of Hyderabad and IIC. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Varun, for your great presentation with appropriate examples and stories to understand and plan innovation and startup. Thank you so much. Our next and last student speaker is Mr. N. Ravi Kiran. He is the PMRF Fellow at University of Hyderabad. He will be presenting his ideas. On ideas, research, and startups. Over to you, Ravi Kiran.
Is the screen visible?
No, not right now.
Now? Hello?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah. So, very good morning to all the audience. I'm N. Ravi Kiran, PhD scholar at School of Engineering Sciences and Technology, University of Hyderabad, and working as Senior Research Fellow at ARCI Hyderabad. I have 4 years of research experience at ARCI Hyderabad, and I have the industrial exposure while working at internship at Tata Advanced Systems Limited. So I'll be discussing about three things, that is ideas, research, and startups. So let us get into the talk. So let's start with talking about ideas. And basically, the word idea is the starting point where every big research, every big startup, all the entrepreneurs begin with. And when we talk about idea, what is an idea? So after going through all the internet-based definitions, summarizing everything, I could think that idea is nothing but a thought and a suggestion. So when I say it's a thought can come from anywhere. It could strike your mind when you are extensively thinking about your work, or at a point where you're struck a hurdle which you want to overcome. Suddenly a thought might come across your mind that, okay, if I could do this, I could overcome this hurdle, I could solve this problem. Or it could also cross your mind when you're casually looking at something, or you're just walking on a road observing the things happening around you, and suddenly idea flashes through your mind. Okay, I could use possibly this thing to solve my problem. And a suggestion, when I say suggestion, again, it can come from anyone and from anywhere. It could be a technical person or a non-technical person. There is a famous story about Sachin Tendulkar when he was really struggling with his form of his batting. I don't exactly remember, but either he was in New Zealand or Australia, and he was traveling in a taxi. And the taxi driver suggested, when we talk about Sachin, he is the god of cricket, and when we talk about taxi driver, he's nowhere related to cricket, and there is a lot of difference. But a small suggestion from the taxi driver helped Sachin to correct his technique and improve his batting, and then the rest we know is history. So it doesn't matter from whom the suggestion is coming. What matters is how constructively you use that suggestion. A suggestion can also be, an outcome from a brainstorming session, or even while you are casually discussing things with your friends at a party, or you might be in a presentation, a review, a seminar where the panel might criticize you, but you need to take that criticism as a suggestion and work constructively on it, build an idea on it, and eventually create a solution out of it. So when do ideas come? One of my PhD supervisors, Dr. P.K. Jain, always says this line that problems are nothing but absence of ideas. Until and unless you have a problem, you don't have that zeal to create an idea. And necessity is the fuel to fire up ideas. So if you take a recent example, all the online platforms on which we are having this workshop is also online. So many online platforms were even available before this pandemic has hit us. Zoom, Skype, everything was there from before. But when the COVID came, and the situation and the necessity was the work cannot be halted; it needs to go on. So when a problem and necessity came, ideas came up. The virtual platform started developing themselves. Before there was limitation of number of people using the online platforms, but eventually they made modifications in it, and somehow the ideas led to solutions. So these problems, ideas, and solutions are all interconnected. Once you have a problem, you try to come up with the idea. Once that idea comes up, you try to figure out a solution. When you start using the solution, again, certain problems come up in that. So this goes on in a loop. Any one of these becomes stagnant, the entire process stops. So now, how to generate new ideas? As many of our speakers have told earlier now, that we need to break old pre-existing patterns and processes and create new perspectives. There were a lot of manufacturing processes already well established over the last few decades. But now recently we see additive manufacturing coming up, because someone somewhere, he broke the old pattern, old processes existing, and he tried to create new perspectives. And that's how the innovation, the technology comes up. And you need to understand the problem carefully and clearly find the bottleneck faults. Like in our previous talk, Varun, I think he mentioned this thing very nicely, that Rani, the case study which he took, she identified the problem very quickly, and she found the bottleneck fault, and she tried to develop a solution to that, and developing an innovation oriented thought process with multiple alternatives. So when you look at a problem and you try to develop ideas and solutions to that problem, one should try focusing at developing multiple solutions to it, not focusing on a single solution, but one should have multiple alternatives to it, so that if one solution fails, you don't have to restart the entire process of thinking about another solution. So if you fall off from one solution, you have other threads hanging around, so that you can cling on to them, and you save time also, and making new connections. So the more people you interact with, you discuss with them, suggestions pour in, thoughts come in. So all of that add to creating two new ideas. And also there are certain factors which limit generating new ideas also. Fear of challenges and risks involved. And along with this thing, the criticism which one fears, like if someone fails, the society starts to criticize him, they try to pull him down. All those things add up and act as a dead weight, which pull a person's mind deep down into the sea. And they try to stop the person from thinking about new ideas, and going for unconventional ways, and exploring new things, which again limits the startups and inventions. And result oriented academic patterns from young age. In schools and colleges, most of the time the academic patterns which we follow are oriented towards results, grades and numbers. It's not like that only grades and numbers are totally irrelevant, but there should be a striking balance between innovation and result oriented academic patterns. Sometimes few minds might be there which may not be able to achieve great grades, but they might have a innovative mind who can generate a lot of ideas. So such things should be balanced with the result oriented academic patterns as well. And low success rate of unconventional ideas. Of late we see a lot of success stories coming up, but before 2 to 3 years back, we never see most of the unconventional ideas successfully coming up onto the picture. If some 100 startups are coming, only a few succeed, like a handful of them succeed, and the rest of them eventually they close down. And one of the main reasons for this is lack of guidance to execute the ideas. It's not like that the country lacks experts to guide the ideas into startups and innovations. There is a huge gap between the persons who are ready to guide and the persons who are generating ideas. So that gap needs to be filled up. And I feel workshops like this are definitely attempting to bridge the gap between those two people. So now coming to the research, when I say research, if I take randomly some 100 people and ask them to close their eyes and imagine the word research, I'm sure most of them will say definitely that there is a chemistry lab or some lab with the beakers and test tube filled with different chemicals, fumes coming up, and color changing liquids all around, and microscopes, people with aprons are moving around with gloves and masks on the face. You know, a few who have exposure of research labs will go one step ahead and will mention complex instruments and some certain research oriented terminologies. But if you summarize again the basic description of research, it's a systematic approach to find the answers to problem. So like in my previous slide, spoke about problems and ideas and solutions. So basically, research is the distance between idea and solution. A systematic, when you get an idea, you start to execute it, and when it's executed in a systematic manner, you reach to a solution. The distance between idea to solution, where you apply the systematic approach, is nothing but research. And research is also a process to create new knowledge or add to the existing ones. It's not necessarily that research has to be done in a lab. For someone who is doing research in the field of history, the research might be just going around through books. And for commerce people, it might be going around through a lot of data, finance related data, and etc. So it's not necessarily that you create new knowledge. You can also add to the existing one, interpret the pre-existing data in a different manner, try to draw out conclusions and inferences from it, which nobody has attempted or understood. Sometimes you try to read in between the lines and understand things which have not been reported, and you still manage to bring out things from the pre-existing data itself. And also you sometimes create new knowledge from experiments and generating data. So now, when to do research? Of late, if you see, research has become more of another kind of a degree. For many students see it in a manner that a PhD is another academic degree. Definitely it is, but the inclination should be different. You should have an inclination and interest toward research rather than seeing it just like another academic degree. If you have inclination towards research, the way you perform your research will be totally different, and you should have a clear and well defined problem, a hypothesis, and a well designed path to reach to a conclusion. So earlier, as I said, if you understand the problem clearly, half of your job is done, and the idea which you get is nothing but the hypothesis, and the path which you cover to reach to the solution is nothing but research, and the conclusion will be your solution. Right? Now, how to do research? Now, this is a very vast topic. I've tried to summarize it. So basically, the research starts when you identify the problem. Once you have identified the problem, you start reviewing the literature. You start reading papers, articles, thesis, which have been published with respect to your problem, and you try to identify the gaps which are already there, even after all of these works done in that field. And once you have identified the gaps, you set research questions which you want to answer, objectives which you want to achieve, and you start getting ideas which you propose as a hypothesis. Once that is done, you choose this experimental design matrix is designed, where you decide like what are the properties or what are the things you want to study. And once that is done, you perform the experiments. You do try to generate the data doing experiments. That is nothing but sample designing. Once that is done, the data is generated, you collect it, you process it, analyze it, and once that is done, you reach to a conclusion. You write a report which eventually goes into the literature, and someone else after coming after you will again identify the same problem and review the literature with your information and knowledge added to that. And this process goes on. Any of this stage, if it is stopped or it becomes stagnant, the entire process gets halted. Now, there are basically six different critical types of research: exploratory research, descriptive research, explanatory, correlational research, casual research, and experimental research. I personally feel that all of these types of research coexist in no matter which field you are doing research. Because someone might be using experimental research more instead of exploratory research and descriptive research, but someone working in the field of history, suppose for example history, he will be doing the experimental part less and more of the exploratory and descriptive part more. So a combination of all these different types of research will be present no matter irrespective of the field. But here comes the interesting part. One of my PhD supervisors in my lab always encourages us to do the fantasy research. He himself suggests that 20% of the lab time can be used for exploring fancy ideas which we get. Because when you do the conventional way of research, you read some papers, you try to replicate them or make modifications in them that are definitely going to give you results which you are expecting. But this 20% of fantasy research which can be done or which you do will give you something out of the box, some exciting results. When you think about such ideas, suddenly you feel the rush of blood, the body temperature increases, there is an adrenaline and sense of excitement inside you. Such kind of research should also be done. Definitely, because research, it costs, it requires time, effort, and resources. So this has to be planned and then done. But definitely, this kind of fantasy research should be encouraged. Now, let's talk about startups. So the basic definition about startups is it should be committed, it should be scalable, and it should be innovative, and it should have an organizational number. For example, if today I want to open a startup on, let's say, production of graphene, then I need to show a number like I can produce this many tons of graphene with respect to my startup, and this is the amount of the revenue I can generate from my startup, and I can generate this much amount of recruitment, or we can say I'm likely to recruit this many number of people and generate employment opportunities. Also, the startup should not be based on any idea which is more than 10 years old, because that again becomes obsolete. And once you are going to open a startup, you will be required to compete not only with the organizations present within your country, but over the entire world, and that's a very tough competition. So the idea on which your startup is going to be based should not be very obsolete. It should not be more than 10 years old. And it should be registered within the same country and likely to look for funding. It should have a tech or innovation element in it, and along with a website. So all these basic points have been covered by the prior speakers. The one thing which I personally feel with respect to India is there is definitely lack of interaction between the academia and the industry, and that is why the research which is taking place in the academics is not being able to translate to the industry and into products. A lot of funding goes into the academia, and an intensive research is being done. There is no doubt about it. PhD scholars, the professors, the scientists, everyone is putting on the time, efforts, their thoughts, everything, and energy into it, and there are outcomes. But eventually, all those things just end up in a pile of reports, and most of them are not being able to get translated to the industry. The main reason being there is no regular and well-defined process of interaction between the academy and the industry. So when we talk about taking any research from lab to market, there is an innovation cycle which is comprised of 6 different stages. So after the research is completed and the team which is in the academia is sure about the research outcomes, they try to disclose the new technologies, which is the first stage. After which the academia people, they try to protect those the ideas and the outcomes, the technology which they are disclosing with intellectual property rights. And after that, this is the second stage, after which the third stage comes, in which they identify the markets, like which segment of the industry or which segment of the market those idea, the technology can be used. After which the fourth stage comes up, where they start interacting with different players of those markets, that is nurturing partnership. They identify the best possible partner, and they start to interact with them regularly and fulfill both of the interests of both the parties. And after that, the fifth stage comes, in which the agreements are made, negotiations are made what will be the the costings are done, how to transfer the technology, and all those things are done. And the final stage comes in where the advancing technology is made open and it's commercialized. Public has access to it, and the royalties are earned and everything. So you see, it's a very long process. This is because the academia and the industry has different interests. So if you talk about the interests, especially the academia universities, a major part of the interest is on education, which is evident because the students go to university to get educated and gain knowledge. Along with the education part, research is also another major component of the interest of universities, along with the social responsibilities. So when you see the interests of industry, they are not focused on education. It's more about talent, innovation, and one thing common is social responsibility, which aligns. Obviously, the social responsibility part is automatically aligned, but what needs to be aligned is the education part with talent and the research part with the innovation. So the academia should keep it in mind that whatever education they are imparting to the students, the graduates, postgraduates, and everyone, that should be in correlation with the requirement, the talent requirement of the industry. Whatever research they are doing, that should be aligned properly, with the innovation requirement of the industry. So if that is taken care, I personally feel that this 6 stages of the innovation cycle from lab to market, that can be reduced. It can also be brought down to 1 to 3 stages. So if there is proper interaction between the academia and the industry from the very beginning, let us assume from stage 1, before an academic research is started, if you initially identify what you are doing at the 3rd stage, identifying the markets, if that is done initially with keeping the perspective in mind that okay, we want to partner with this, we want to target this particular sector of the industry, and you start discussing all those things with the partner which you want to collaborate with from the industry, this 3rd stage and 1st stage can be combined easily. And once you combine these two, the 2nd stage automatically gets taken care, because you already have a clear picture where you want to go. So once you start the research, the 1, 2, 3, the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd stage automatically gets combined into the 1 stage. And the nurturing partnership, the 4th stage and the 5th stage can be combined into 1 stage once the research is completed, and directly we can move on to the 6th stage. So the 6th stage innovation cycle gets shifted to 3 stages once you have a proper alignment between the industry and academia and have regular interactions. And one more thing I would like to discuss here is, there are people who are scared. Mostly the startups or the entrepreneurs are scared about this valley of death. So let us understand what is the valley of death. People are at this end where the invention happens, research happens, and people are here to invest and commercialize the research once the technology is fully developed. And the distance between these two ends is covered by the process called commercialization, and underneath this bridge lies the valley of death. So once the invention is completed, everything is done and dusted, and the technology is fully developed at lab scale, and you want to translate it to the industry, you have to walk through this bridge of commercialization. But the sad part is, this walk over this bridge is very risky. It's you are on your own. If you fall into the valley of death, and there is no one to lend a helping hand or nothing over which you can cling on. So this walk is what scares people from translating the academic research to the industry, and this is another factor which limits the translation of research. Of late now the government has opened up a lot of portals and lot of schemes to make this walk of commercialization smoother as compared to before times. And I hope that now whatever research is being done, most of it can be translated into some product which is useful for the society as well as the country, and it can be translated to the industry as well. And definitely this is the need of the hour, that whatever research in some form, tangible or intangible form, it should go into the industry. If suppose you are working on artificial intelligence and machine learning, you should the research should definitely try to improve the processes where you aim to use it, instead of just being ending up into the pile of a report. Definitely every research should end up in some kind of industrial product. Of late, I have seen that IIT Delhi is encouraging the PhD scholars to, instead of writing up a thesis, they are giving the option that you can translate your research into a kind of startup, and they themselves provide the incubation support to such ideas. So more and more such kind of initiatives will definitely be helping the translation of ideas into research and the research into startups. So with this, I would like to end my talk, and I would like to thank the University of Hyderabad and IIC committee for giving me the opportunity to present my perspective on this talk, and thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Ravi. This talk definitely defined the connection between the ideas, research, and the startups, and how one can scale it up to industry level. You can post your questions on YouTube comment section if you have any for the student speakers or the our main speaker. The last speaker for the day is Dr. G. Venkatramana, Chief Technology Officer and the co-founder at Nanospan. He will be presenting his insights about the startups through the talk entitled The Perspective of Nanomaterials Technology from Lab to Commercialization. I request Professor Srikant to introduce Dr. Venkatramana.
Yeah. Thank you, Harita. It is indeed a pleasure to introduce Dr. Venkatramana. Dr. Ramana is an accomplished and research-oriented professional with a combination of excellent academic credentials and extensive experience in nanotechnology-related aspects. Dr. Ramana focuses on manufacturing in nanotechnology, commercialization of nanotechnology across India and outside India too. He is right now the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Nanospan. At Nanospan, he is responsible for the development and delivery of various products, especially concentrating on energy related devices and fabrication and marketing of those devices. He also implements service delivery agreements across product lines, influences new product introductions in market, and provides expert technical advice for new reservoir solution pathways related to production, enhancement, and workover operations. He is a committed person to develop and transfer nanotechnology knowledge to entrepreneurs, also the new ones, and end users to help the growth of nanotechnology products. With regards to his academic credentials, he has 20 research publications in top-notch journals. And as a industry person, he has already 10 patent applications in last 4 years. I'm very proud of him. He is my first PhD student at University of Hyderabad. He has both physics and materials engineering background. He has done excellent work. When the discussion of his future came up immediately after his PhD, he already knows what he wanted to do. He could have been an excellent academician, and a researcher, but he chose his path in a different manner, and I'm really happy that he knew already what he wanted, and he's doing very well right now, and he's here with us, and I requested him to present his perspectives on innovation and startups. He comes from a very small village in Andhra Pradesh, and he has done extremely well. And in fact, if we see his progress from a student to somebody who is a CTO and a co-founder of a company, it really tells about his seriousness in helping the society. Okay, I with this I welcome Dr. Venkat Ramana, and I request him to give his talk.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks. It was a nice introduction, and I'm glad and very privileged to be part of this workshop. Thanks for the opportunity. Let me share my screen. My screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks to the previous speakers, because they made my job easier, because they have extensively discussed about the stories and the startups and startup ecosystem. So there is a common point between you and me here. As a research scholar, all I used to think was, how do I get my nanomaterial research help for daily needs? In other words, I would like to say that why should I do business based on my nanotechnology experience? In 2006, after my completion of my PhD, I met my partner, who was a senior entrepreneur from Silicon Valley, and also he has been working on graphene, who was looking for a like-minded partner. Then we had extensive discussions on nanomaterial production and all, and our association and also the promise of nanomaterials have led to starting Nanospan company. After that, we never looked back. Today, I'm going to discuss the market perspective of nanomaterials, particularly from lab scale to market. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my firm, Nanospan, and also the product portfolio which we are doing in Nanospan for energy storage as well as construction industry as a case study. So let's start today's discussion points with this agenda. Again, thanks particularly for Ravi, right, the previous speaker. So he already explained what is value of depth and most of the things. So my talk will be in two parts. The first part already, most of the thing already set the stage. So that's why I'm very happy for this. Now I am more focused on Nanospan, what we are doing, how we are doing, and my product portfolio with respect to technology readiness levels as a case study. And also, as you know, that TRL is playing a major role. That means the technology readiness level will help to bridge the gap. It will bring where you are technically, and then it will also bring the funding, the different funding opportunities based on your TRL levels. So the funding is the biggest challenge to get your idea to convert to a technology. In the second part, exclusively I'll discuss Nanospan activities and our product as a case study. Here I'm emphasizing what kind of strategies we are following to avoid the valley of death. So before jumping to that one, again, I'm also start with one hypothetical story. Almost it relates to my journey also, but it is purely hypothetical. A science student was studying in a library. He was casually skimming through the textbook. Suddenly, he stuck with a formula which relates to chemical possibility of making gold from scratch. So he roughly wrote down the approach and went to his room with super excitement. He wanted to see if it is practically possible or not. The same day, he approached his parents and explained everything, the idea of making the gold from the scratch. His mother was very excited, so she believed she will get lots of gold. As you know, the Indian woman, and also it is a gold, as a lighter note. But his father was a bit skeptical about the thought, but wanted to encourage his son. And he got very little loss if his son farmer succeed, and also he will become a rich. So one fine day, he started the task. I'm not saying it is experiment, it is a task, but he will be ended with a purple color and different colored precipitate in the beaker. So he hardly disappointed, But okay, mother hugely disappointed. But according to boy, okay, it is eureka moment for him, and he was very happy for that. But according to his father, because he's the investor in this task, so he calculated, okay, it is okay for him also because it is a less loss for that. So the same student become now scholar. So he's already he has an idea on that. So he started his journey as a scholar according to research methodology, and he got a good supervisor. Then he explained his previous idea to him. This is the mentor role. So he got the point actually, and he can sense the potentiality, commercial as well as technical potential of the idea. He guided him, and he generated a lot of publications because I want to make it crispy, and I want to focus more on my product side. So then he published some publications and patented. During this journey, he had a good IP, the intellectual property. But it happened one of the conferences, he presented his technology in front of all experts. Then one guy has identified the potentiality of this technology to make next level of that commercialization. And he approached him, and based on the, this is the stage, most of the agreements and the partnerships happened. Then we placed it as a main pillar of this company, and they together develop the technology as well as they commercialize, and they're doing good. This is the whole cycle of the story. Let me say that the first stage of the story is exclusively idea. Imagine that one, if it stops here, that it may not be a good idea, right? So again, the previous speaker already mentioned about the timing. This is the key. So after that, unknowingly or knowingly, he joined as a scholar and he developed the technology here. So here is the teaching towards the commercialization. So what he done is PhD is beautifully articulated, published, and patented. So the total thing comes under IP. So the same way it happened in this time, this is all commercialization during his interactions and the agreements, market readiness levels. This is another set of skill set is required. That means if you have an idea, if you are not come across all these steps, then it may not be a good idea. That is my intent. So already one previous speaker already mentioned this. So always that this is the debatable one between the universities and corporates because of this death of value. No one wants to take risk on this, right? So the key factor, how we are bridging the gap between discovery and commercialization. You can see your idea is a basic discovery. Then there are different steps. As the structured way, you can call it from discovery to convert this one to technology. The technology again involves basic research and applied research. Then it will be the product development, finally productization. So while these steps, how strongly you can bridge the gap through your commercialization skills. This is the overall spectrum. So some of them exclusively working on research side, yes, because of that is the seed. Then only we can commercialize the idea. Otherwise it won't happen, right? But the commercialization is again, there is a mixed skill set is required. For example, the research skill set is different. The commercialization process are different. But here we need a complementary skills. So if you have a motive on this, you can be involved in the commercialization. Then there will be a different skill set people to make a commercial, the market productization, sales, execution, everything is entirely different. So this way, the key focusing where you will be. So that is dependent by the technology readiness levels. This is well formulated steps. Let me explain details in this slide. So, for example, this is the idea. If you have idea, then you can convert that to prototypes. Once if you have a prototype, testing and validation is the next step. Once you have a good testing and your validation is good, then you will go for a production. So these are the 4 steps to bridge that gap from the idea to product. But if you detailedly examine that one, here is a 9 TRL levels, 0 to 9, the 10 steps. The first idea is related to the four. One is idea. Idea means an unproven concept, not testing, nothing. This is purely idea. No one can judge that in this stage this idea is good or bad. Okay, then you can convert this idea to basic research. The basic research mainly you can describe the needs, but how there is no evidence. Understand, right? On that time you don't have any XRD patterns and you don't have any evidence for that. But you can describe how you're going to make this idea to formula. So then the technology formulations will be in the TRL second level. Here you have to be fixed with your concept and applications have been formulated. For example, if you have a concept, if you don't have application, it may not be the good formula. The same thing happened in that gold story. So he has a formula, he has a concept, but in his mind, the application is different. So then once if you have a formula, then you go for a validation. Here the validation is R&D validation. You have initial offerings and you can prove your things in the laboratory wise. So once if your idea is in this validation, then it will convert to the prototype making. Again, here there are two different prototypes. If you have a ugly prototype, that means the final product design is different and the prototype product design is different. So the small scale prototype, call it as built in a laboratory environment. It is typically called POC, proof of concept. So once if you have that proof of concept with laboratory environment with your small prototype, then you will move towards the large scale prototype. Large scale prototype means it's not size wise. It's a large scale prototype means it is a tested in the intended environment. The same prototype extensively tested in this environment. Then your prototype making is over. Then you will move towards the TRL6. The TRL6 is about prototype system. So once you have a prototype, then the tested in intended and also can stimulate exactly what market is required. So these two steps are very, very essential, the validation. So once that is there, then you have a demonstration system. It will be going for a market demos and you can make it a field trial sometimes. So the demonstration system, it is exactly replica to your end product. So once this is over, then the production comes. So the TRL will is the 8 will be first kind of commercial system. That means it is early EFTs, we call it as early field trial stage. And you can work with your customer in the customer site, sometimes in customer environment. Then you have to prove almost at least here that closed beta, open beta, there are different market strategies. I'm not going to the deep into that market levels. But once you've proven here, that is this first 8 stage is exclusively you can fix with the trusted customers because you need some good feedback as well as bad feedback also. Then only you will make your formulas, you can fine tune your formula. So then once you successfully complete that 8, then it is commercially available product. That is, it is general availability for all customers. So if you start your idea, you have to systematically, the structured way, if you develop your products, then you will have a commercial product in your hand. So that's where that means that maybe I will also discuss with the funding. So that each step you require a fund and also you require a different types of funds. So before details about the funding, I want to give the TRL levels. Maybe the question is, which TRL does academic transfer technology to industry? This is the key factor. Because always academic tends to focus on 1 to 4. That means your basic principles to proof of concept. But unfortunately, industry prefer to work with 7 and 9. That means system deployment, the system development, system validation, and system deployment. That's where the gap, that means the TRL 4 to 6, prototype making and prototype testing. This comes under this valley of death. The most of the ideas are affected by this death. To minimizing this, the most of the structured formulas are available, but you have to be very focus on these activities. I will explain, I will take 1 or 2 examples of my products, how we are crossing this TRL 4 to 6 levels. So, that one. Again, already Ravi mentioned this one. So my previous speaker, sorry, I forgot his name. But yeah, this is always debatable offense, debatable question. So from academic side, their perception is different, and the perspective of commercial corporates are different. But we need to everyone to come together and bring these partnerships to make a commercial, to fill the gap. But here, always the key point is IP. So this is the major problem, but you have to have fair and commercial terms of IPs from academic side also, as well as from the corporate side. So the finance startup, what is the stages? Because there are different kind of funding is required, because it is important. If you have to start your startup, you have to knock the right doors. Otherwise, if your timing is different, then you will be in the trouble. For example, again, I correlate with this, my previous story versus the pre-seeding. That means you have an idea, there is no revenue. Who will come to fund you? Right? This is the biggest thing. So that it called pre-seed. That means you have to get the amount from friends and family or crowdfunding. That means the trusted ones whom you are trusting, so they will only sponsor you. That comes under pre-seed. Once you have a POC with that, but you can't expect any revenues in that, you can imagine whom you want to contact. So in that, my story, so his father is a investor there. That's why you don't worry about that. But if he took some loan from bank, then everything gets spoiled. The same way, once the POC, then you will get a seed fund. The seed fund exclusively, they know already you are on the bridge of that gap. As already you know, this is a very deathly work on the bridge. But there will be some players, those are called angels, angel investors. They are here exclusively, they sponsor for your prototypes. And they'll parallelly work with you to make a commercialization aspects and all. So here, there may not be revenues, or sometimes some development funds and grants will be available. So once if you have a prototypes and valid system with you, prototype system, then you can approach VCs, the venture capital funds, otherwise institutional investors. That means the bank loan and all, because you have a product and you know how to grow that. So then you can enter into the market based on market feedbacks. You have to fine tune your formulas. And once you successfully commercialize the product, the revenue will generate in millions or trillions based on your potential. Now, so here I want to emphasize one thing. If you have a formula, you can't restrict in a single product. The same formula may convert into different multiple products also. So somewhere you can make your product portfolio, you can diversify constantly. So that is the growth stage. The growth stage, you will be getting your fund from venture capitalists and institutional investors. So once if you're successfully grown, then you may be the public company. That is entirely different. So this is the startup journey, along with the funding. So let me take this opportunity to introduce my Nanospan. So Nanospan, basically we are specialized in nanomaterials and new materials, we call it, for a sustainable living, mainly focusing on energy storage and construction industry. These are our R&D center in Hyderabad, located in Hyderabad and also in Silicon Valley, USA. So this is the innovation landscape of Nanospan. So at Nanospan, we know how to synthesize nanomaterials. Again, that I will show you as a use case in my next slide. But here is the overall picture. So the total domain, Nanospan's domain comes under nanomaterials and functional nanocomposites and also primary component. These primary products, what we have been developing, so these based on our nanomaterial and nanocomposites. So these nanocomposites bring multiple of efficiency to the end product. For example, let me take one example. If you are a energy storage, if you have a lithium battery, then we are providing our electrodes. That electrodes will improve your performance. So such a way that they will get their USP, unique selling process. And based on our primary products, we will serve end users to improve their USPs. That is our motive. here I'll give that one. We are B2B and we are providing IP licensing, we are giving technology transfer to the end user. Sometimes we are providing these proprietary materials like composites and nanomaterials. This is overall my nanoscience activity. As you know, already TRLs are explained, and also in nanospan, we have a different phase. We have separated our products development in 4 phases. The first initial phase 1 is exclusive on planning, because without this, we can't start. The planning, again, the 2 set of people are involved. One is from R&D people, because what is the formula, what is the potential we'll bring in, and how it is going to be product. But at the same time, we are taking care of, in this planning time itself, we want to see market validation also. Because eventually we want to commercialize the product. So then we will go for a prototype production as a phase 2, then testing and comprehensive test and everything in the phase 3. Phase 4, fully follow up with market customers and documenting with blueprints, how to scaling from laboratory to manufacturing level and scaling process, everything comes under phase 4. And also, we are always looking for exciting ideas to commercialize. This is our motive. So this is the strategy. As I mentioned earlier, how set of people, we brainstorm our products, where it is, and which phase it is, and what is the TRL of all this. If you observe this, if you remember the TRL levels, you can sense that we have 2 products already crossed the TRL, we are in the commercialization step. Again, among 4, we are 2 are at R&D level. Still we are at a proof of concept stage. So let me take 2 examples for your reference. One is which is below that value test, and one which is already commercialized. So 2 use cases I want to discuss. The nano electrodes, we call it. So these electrodes exclusively for lithium batteries and supercapacitors for next generation energy storage devices. So you can see this. Here you can observe 2 things. I want to bring that one. Exclusively we have been concentrate on how to synthesize high quality nanomaterials and nanocomponents. Earlier I used to thought that okay, I already experienced in these nanomaterial synthesis, I can make it within 1 year. But after I started, I came to know that there are plenty of things you need to address if you want to commercialize. So that's why the first initial 2 years we exclusively were working on nanomaterial synthesis. Then in 2020 we have a prototypes, R&D prototypes, as well as some large-scale prototypes also. In 2021, now we are at POC stage of these electrodes to convert. These are the prototypes. This is the exclusive anode material lithium battery. This is the flexible supercapacitor for 2-wheeler. Then now we are concentrating on field trials and system deployments and market entry into this. And 2023 will be commercial year. You can see this, it is almost 6 to 7 years journey. Still we are at the POC stage. So sometimes here I want to give 2 pictures. Sometimes you need to focus, and secondly, you have to compromise your time. You have to give particular, because it is incubation time. Have to be patient, and you have to spend most of the time in a systematic and structured manner. Then only you will get your goal, you will be reaching your goal. So this is the steps. Once nanomaterial ready, then electrodes are ready. These are our trade names. Once nano electrodes are ready, then you can make a prototype out of that. Then you will go for a manufacturing. So if you can't skip any step of this, you have to be work on that, and also you have to work in a systematic manner. This is the way of bridging the gap. Neuron is the product, it is already commercialized. Here the strategies are different. You can observe that. There the steps are different. Here almost for us it took 1.5 to 2 years because of the COVID already 6 months delay. But still, you can see that already formula is ready. So development and testing successfully completed. Once that one, then the second step will be customer proof of concept testing. Your POC at lab won't work in a customer site. So you have to prove at customer end. Once if you successfully complete with customer proof of concept, Then you go for a certification. For example, it is a manufacturing unit. There will be the compliance test with ASTM standards. And also new field trials. Once if you have a certificate, then you can come up with a user guidelines. So then the market readiness, it is entirely different. I'm not going to detail. So here it is manufacturing, scaling, packaging, and branding, total market. So these are the steps we are currently working on that on already commercial products. Here, that is the overall picture of that. I want to bring this. So out of 5 products, 3 we already crossed that gap, and now we are ready for commercialization of the product. The product on 80% completed one is Juran. You can see these images. Already we are supplying orders in tonnage. As you can, if anyone knows that nanomaterial market, so 2-ton material supply is a big achievement. And the second thing I want to bring into account is we are the first nanotechnology company who have commercialized nanomaterials in the construction industry. When something is happening in UK, but particularly in our country, we are the first. So our already field trials and our mock-ups are successfully completed, and also our target for next year 2021 almost 100 tons. And also the second product, exclusively this one is for defense application. You can see we already supplied 50 square meters of graphene coated Kevlar, and also this is the product, and already we have patented all this stuff. And this is the first of kind, the graphene coated Kevlar, which is useful for a bulletproof bulletproof vest and bulletproof vehicles. Here, based on our coating, one can reduce their product weight by 20%, and it will improve 30% performance of elastic performance. So we are already closely working with our Indian government, Indian DRDO. And the third product in the energy storage side, we are still at 25% completion, but still we want to. Our target is 2023. We will be coming with a new anode materials. That means a nano composite material that will bring 30% efficiency in our lithium battery. So these 3 products we already successfully completed, and now we are working with 2 different products for R&D, and we have filed 10 patents so far. These are overall nanospan commercial activity. So because I have a valid prototype, how can we demonstrate them? So this video speaks a lot to engage with customers. So I'll take only 2 use cases here. This one, as I mentioned, this is already commercially proven one. So here, what I want to explain is, so these are 2 cubes made out of concrete. One is C, means it is without any graphene. Here, it is a non-destructive test for compressive strength, rebound hammer we call it. So you can see the compression strength number is something around 30. Okay, this is without our Juran, that means our graphenes. Then you can see that we release that one, and now we want to check this cube. This cube made out of our Juran. Juran means our graphene-based solution. And see the improvement in the compressive strength with the rebound number. It is around 50. That's how we are demonstrating our large prototypes to the customers. Then they will give the feedback, and field trials will happen. Then only they will believe us. So this is another product. Again, it is considered as smart construction category. So here we develop graphene-based ink. You can see this is the art on the wall. We are developing interface between wall interactive interfaces, we call it as. So here, this is whole tree made out of our graphene-based ink. So this ink brings conductivity as well as functionality to the art. I can see this view. So you can see this. It is on-off function. While you touch your screen, then you can operate your lamp. And also you have another functionality you bring in that is you can dimmer and brighten this one. It is like a sliding mechanism. You can see on a wall, it is like a simple paint, but it has a functionality. And also you can make it proximity. Without touching that also you can make it on-off. You can make it functional. So this is 2 examples. these are the timelines. Already I mentioned, but it is in a corporate way. So the exclusive incorporation foundation is to increasing the sales. These are the steps we have followed. Overall summary, we are innovators in nanomaterials and nanocomposites. And if you ask me what is the differentiation, we already in the market and we have proven bulk nanomaterial production and fabrication. Our products are ready, and some of the products are already in the commercialization mode, some of them are in the commercialization process. We are an Indian oil coherent and also Lowe's US selected as one of the development partners with them. So this is the overall summary of NanoStem. Thank you. Thanks for your time. You can contact me at this information.
Thank you so much, sir, for this great presentation. I would like to ask all the members from YouTube to post their question in the comment section. So either our speakers will be answering them here. There is a question from Akanksha to all the speakers. What is your advice to someone who wants to work or maintain a startup alone? Any of the speakers can give this answer.
I believe it can be a one person's job, like the story of Rani that Varun has portrayed, but uh, usually, more than often, it's wise to have partners or collaborators to work with. And since this is an organization that you're going to build, an organization is definitely not a one person. But if you are doing such a startup, which does not require a lot of people and a single person can maintain, I guess you should have the kind of strength, perseverance, passion towards the idea, and very lucid, clear time plan, process flow of execution. I guess that would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Secha. Dr. Venkatramana, do you have anything to say about this further regarding the.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay, sir, I'll repeat the question. What is your advice to someone who wants to work or maintain a startup alone?
Oh, yeah. This is if you have a good idea, that means, as I mentioned in my presentation also, there is no good idea, bad idea. Once you have a good plan for that, top of that, then you can start as any startup or anything, start with first step, right? So you have to build that ecosystem. You have to have your own DPR, the detailed project report. Then someone can help you on that. And also you can approach most of the people and you have that, mostly the timing as well as your courage towards that is the key.
Our next question is there any group or organization to solve or guide for this valley of death for everyone?
Sorry, anyone?
Is there any group or organization to solve or guide for this valley of death for everyone?
Oh.
Means where they can approach.
Again, because based on your approach, again, for example, if you have an idea, you don't know how to cross that one, yes, there are some organizations and there are well articulated articles are available. Go through that, definitely. Someone will help you on that. And there are some organizations and agencies in a commercial term also. They're exclusively working on that one. For example, if you have an idea, they will do it for you, remaining thing. Make a DPRs, make a funding where you can, so someone can evaluate that. And most of the nowadays, these incubation centers, the concept of Atal Bihari incubation centers, and most of the institutions have incubation centers. You can use that facilities. Maybe the mentors will guide you on that.
Harita, I have something to add. At
Yes,
the
sir.
University of Hyderabad, we have a technology enabling center sponsored by Department of Science and Technology. This center is exclusively for anyone to approach with their idea and develop their idea with the help of technology enabling center. This was instituted to enable people to develop their ideas. All sorts of support can be given by the technology enabling center in developing the ideas. At University of Hyderabad, this has been established, and anyone who is interested may approach technology enabling center at UOH.
Thank you, sir. The
Adding,
next question.
yeah,
Sir.
adding to Professor Srikanth's statement, like for those who are into metallurgy and new materials, we have an organization at Hyderabad called ARCI, International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials. This is an institution exclusively set up for technology transfer, and many of their innovations have also translated into few businesses. So that could also be a place that people with interest in those domains could reach out to. Thank you.
Thank you, Secha. The next question we have is do you have any failure stories? How did you overcome them?
Yeah, in a startup journey, there is always that excitement because of that only. I can't say that one is a failure if you have a proper structure in your hand. That is like up and downs, right? That where you will get your momentum. So there's always one day is entirely different, and second day you will be in the cloud nine. So that's the how. So we can't take it as a failure until and unless you will complete the scale. Again, why failures happen most of the startups? Because the startup success rate almost above 90%, 95% is a failures. But failure is, you can take it in a different way. Then you will get your opportunity. That is like a diplomatic way. But coming to this one, yes, always you have to monitor your journey. So where you are, the thorough education, your people, and your funding. with timing. So these 4 pillars, you have to build your business plan. And again, unfortunate things will happen like COVID, that these things again, extra bonus. But yeah, you have to be very conscious about your steps, then only you will be success.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for artists like dancers or musicians. How is it possible to start up an idea like what Rani did? If they have any ideas because they are not technologically well versed, how can we go on and put our ideas? Anybody can answer this.
If there are artists that can provide certain services, it's not necessarily it's not necessary that you make up a startup that is a full-fledged startup. So you can hone your skills by making starting a service. Like for example, there's a website called Fiverr where you can offer your services, and they'll pay you for your services by the hour and by the work you do. For example, if there's a painter or an animator that can animate a particular sequence, upon the request of the customer, they can make a particular video like that or something similar, and they can get paid by the customer. So with that free, it's also like a startup. Freelancing is also a part of one of the beginning part of a startup. So freelancing can be explored in this case to improve those skills.
May I add?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, Miss Prativadi Bhayankara Vaishnavi, this is a very good question. Please come to TEC for a discussion. We have a group of experts who can help you with your idea. They can also provide research support. They can bring in other people through their contacts to discuss about your idea and develop it, because we need to know what DI. Okay, so yes, if you are nearby, please come and visit the DST Technology Enabling Center. You may contact Professor GS Prasad initially, and then kickstart your discussion with the members of the TEC.
Thank you, sir. The next question we have is from Akanksha. I have implemented an idea, but due to a few urgent things, I have to stop it. Is taking break is okay, or do I have to continuously work on it? And is a mentor compulsory for this? Ramana sir, you can answer this, please.
Yeah, again, always mentor role is crucial. So you need to be a mentor. Then only you may get some confident about that. If your idea is, then the validation of your idea in the terms of where you want to be. For example, if you want to commercialize that, then what stage you will. For example, it is complete cycle. So based on your idea, based on your potential of that idea with respect to commercial and social impact, what are the things? But you have to be with mentor, with structured organizations like these type of incubation centers. Then only you will get confident about it. Otherwise, again, it is a costly affair always, right? Time and efforts will be compensated by some fund. And another term, yeah, skin in the game. If you want to be part of that, you should work in this type of organizations. Then you will get your things done easier way. I can't say it is easier way in a structured way.
Thank you, sir. You have talked about Atal program. So there is a question related to that. This Atal program is only for researchers or any specific guidelines in terms of for other courses?
So it is like any idea. Based on your idea, there will be different incubation centers. Different skill set of people are available. This is a good program. You can go through that. Even DST is also having that. And coming to this, our Telangana, we have a T-Hub in IIIT. That is also a good incubation center. They will help you in that incubation time, the early stage startups. So based on your area where you're working, based on that, they'll help you.
Harita,
Yes, sir.
the next question I will ask.
Yes, sir.
There is one question, not my own question, but there is a question from Professor Porna Parupa from Central University Tripura. I'm happy that he has joined our program. He has a question for Dr. Ramana. Of course, he's saying excellent talk. How much revenue you put back into research? That is the question, Ramana.
Yeah, ma'am, this is actually an air exchange, so I can't talk on the commercial terms.
Yeah, but maybe in terms of percentage, you can probably say, 50%, 100%, what is it?
Yeah, almost, yes. Above 60% of our seed fund. Actually, we are an angel investment stage. Now our startup, maybe I will tell you in that way. So now we are complete our angel term. Now we are looking for a Series A funding. That means we are in the grown stage from startup to scaling. So almost our efforts, 80% of our seed fund for this IP generation. That IP means it will be the manpower, it will be CapEx, OpEx, all operations.
Yeah, Professor Rupa himself might be interested in joining you, Venkatramana. You may contact, or I'll ask him to contact you. He has so many ideas. I know him from a long time. So maybe he's also interested he worked at NFTDC. He was involved in a lot of development of a lot of technologies.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, Dr. Nagamani, she's asking whether MTech major project time, is it possible for the students to think in this direction? Yes, definitely yes. Yeah, Harita?
Yes, sir.
If,
Yeah, so
if there are no more questions, probably we may close the meeting for today.
yes, sir. Thank you, all the student speakers and Dr. Ramana, sir, for this great talk and this great session. Everybody is loving it. So tomorrow there will be a detailed question and answer session for the YouTube audience. If you want to ask any of more of your question, you can join it, and we'll see you there tomorrow. It will be starting by 10 o'clock. So Dr. Bharadwaj will be there. He will be presenting you his ideas about the technology commercialization and entrepreneurship. And later on, he will take the question and answer session. So I would like to thank everybody, the participants who joined this session. Thank you so much, and all the speakers and UOHISC members. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
And special thanks to Professor Arun Agrawal, who has been through the entire session with us. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for being with us.